So welcome to another video, and today we're going to be tearing down the stock G Pro wireless against the white Superlight. I did this while I was streaming on YouTube and Twitch, but going forward I'm only going to be streaming on Twitch. That's to give you a better viewer experience, to give you better giveaways, and to give you some better emojis and stuff like that. So if you want to do that, I'll put a link in the description to follow me on Twitch if you're not already. So as you can see here, the G Pro wireless is very similar. The only difference really off the shell here is the skates and the side buttons on the right hand side of the Superlight have been taken off. Other than that, they are very similar here. This is obviously a white Superlight and a black stock G Pro wireless. So the weight here of the stock is around 81 grams, and the white one Superlight is 61 grams. I've heard the black Superlight is also lighter here, around 59 grams as well. This is to do with the colour of the shell here, so only the shell will be the additional weight here, not the rest of the components, but we're going to compare them side by side here for weights, as you can see here with the pucks, and for any other components as we tear them down completely to their bare components. This will show you what's different in the G Pro wirelesses here, to understand if you think it's worth buying it, whether you want to do any modding to it, which we're going to do going forward, and some other ideas as well. So in the box, the only differences here are you get a puck with a glide, you also get some additional grip tape, which is nice to see here from Logitech, and the cable itself is the same micro USB cable we've seen before. We'll do some more videos on the grip tape. I'll do some reviews on that as well, as I've done for the grip tape, to give you an idea of what it's like and the thickness. I'm using lighter fluid here to remove some of the skates, but you'll see here on the stock skates that they split, which is a common fault with these, even without lighter fluid. A hairdryer I think is slightly better to remove these. The lighter fluid has worked better on other mice, but on the G Pro here it's destroying the skates, so I just give up on that. And then we try it again on the Superlight. You'll see also on the Superlight it does split the sensor ring, which is a bit annoying, but it does help try and take off the front skate. Still, you've got to work it very gently here because it will tend to bubble underneath, which causes a bit of a lumpy skate. So for me, I wouldn't take the skates off unless you've got some spare ones to replace them with. You see the skates are the same thickness. I thought they might be a little bit thinner on the Superlight, but they are both around 0.8mm. Slightly different bases here. You can see it's got an additional screw lower down on the foot here, which is a bit of a weird design from Logitech, not two at the top. You've also got the standard 3 screws at the back, and then you've got these holes on around the sensor, which is a bit unusual. I'm not sure why Logitech have just not removed the 2 middle screws at the front, and they've added this additional 3rd one in the middle. It's a little bit of a strange idea here. The skates are obviously 2 grams heavier, the new Superlights over the stocks. That was interesting to see. Didn't expect that. The screws are all identical here in both of the mice. They're just using less of them in the Superlight by the looks of it as we break this down, which you'll see throughout this video. Straight off the bat here we can see Logitech has trimmed the PCB. They've taken away that left rear curl, which is good because that's always been fragile where the ribbon cable is connected, and they've placed it in the top right. We'll take a little bit of a closer look in a sec to see how these look side by side. So you can see here some differences definitely on the PCB using different connectors for the ribbon cable, also shortened the PCB. Looks like they've just chopped the rear part off it and added it to the PCB layout here and refined it slightly. We'll compare these PCBs and the different bases in a minute as well to give you an idea whether you could swap these over. Don't know why you would do that, but some people might want to. For me, they seem to be using the same sensor here, but I'm not 100% sure because they have got different numbers here, but I'm not familiar with them, so I can't confirm. Maybe somebody else can in the comments for me. They've still got the same 3 screws in the PCB here for the Superlight at the top as they do in the normal stock. PCB is around 2 grams lighter though, which is good to see. Overlaid here, the 2 PCBs will fit by the looks of it. They've got the same sensor position, people will be asking me. Obviously got different dimensions here, but the general layout at the top has been kept the same. They've just removed some of the components around on that PCB and made it a bit more efficient. It's a nice change to see here. And you'll see here, putting it into the stock base, you can instantly align the Superlight PCB to the stock mount points as well as the sensor position here, so you could actually interchange these if you wanted. It's the same here with the older stock PCB and the new Superlight base here. You can see they will align. You can still use that as well. Don't know why you would do, but you could do. It's a little bit overhanging on the magnets, that would be the only concern here, but you could get away with it. Interesting design on the base here. Logitech have left it still no holes in it, but they've trimmed out like the Razer Viper where you can mill out some of the plastic inside to thin out the shell and give it like a honeycomb internal effect. Looks good. You'll see they've actually used slightly smaller magnets, which is good to see because these magnets are super strong. So it's a good way to save some weight there. And again, they've also trimmed out the buttons here, the power buttons. The Superlight one being slightly thinner here and a little bit lighter in weight, which is good to see. So Logitech have definitely thought about some of these weight modifications here and how to refine it while keeping the same structure. Superlight base is around 1 gram lighter here as well. But in the weight reduction, which I did on this stream later on, and I'll post another video, we did get this down quite considerably by doing some modifications here, so keep your eye out for that video. If you're not subbed already, make sure you're subbed. The batteries here are the same, they're both 240 mAh batteries. The G Pro wireless, which is good to see on the stock, they've now removed it on this Superlight, this bar that holds the battery in place. I never saw the point in this, it doesn't need it. I take it out as part of the modifications that I make. Logitech here have done the same, now it doesn't need it. Now you can see on the internal skeleton here, they've used some different layouts here. One of the key components is they don't have this bracket over the top of the scroll wheel, and we'll see that later on here. And you'll see there's different screw locations as well for some of the mounting points. I think Logitech has still got too many screws in here. And again, part of the weight reduction video we did later, we did remove a lot of these. The G Pro wireless has got so many, it's about 39 screws anyway in the stock, which we've done in another teardown. Superlight here has got a few less, but there's still considerable screws here that could be removed to save some weight if you wanted. There's a few location changes for the screws, so if you are taking it apart, you'll need to take a look at the Superlight one here and see what's changed. They've changed the front left right pegs here. They've made it like a over-under setup, which I don't really understand why they've done that. There was no issue with the original G Pro. and this here just makes it a little bit more complicated. Maybe it tightens it up, but I haven't noticed any difference here. In fact, I generally leave those screws out when I mod it, so I don't really see the point. Side buttons have changed, as you can see here. They've now got an entire side button configuration here rather than the magnetic ones which they have in the G Pro stock. That is actually a good change. It makes them a little bit more firmer, I would say. You can see they're using the same 20 million Omrons as they are in all their new G Pro wirelesses at the minute. It's a bit of a shame here. I would have preferred to see a different switch, but at least you should have less failure rate than the 50 million Omrons, which were just failing left, right and centre, although they are still known to fail. The shells themselves are pretty much identical. There's obviously no holes on the right hand side, which adds a little bit of extra weight to the Superlight version. They've had a little bit of a bump on the side as well, which I'm not sure people will like. And then they've taken out the light diffuser on the back for the RGB. So overall this makes a difference of 1 gram here on the white one, probably 2 grams on the black Superlight shell. The switches, the buttons are exactly the same here, maybe a little bit of a tweak with a little bit of a few different lines in there, but they're very similar. I do find the Superlight to be a little bit hollow in terms of click, and I'll be doing that in the review that are going forward. I'm trying to work out why that is, but for me I do find they're slightly hollow, the clicks on the Superlight. Here's the additional plate that holds the scroll wheel down. I've always taken that out. It does make the scroll wheel feel a little bit less firm in terms of scroll, which is something that I noticed straight off the bat. But for me, I'm used to that. I actually prefer it without it anyway. So it's nice to see Logitech remove this extra gram weight. They look to have thinned out the PCB themselves on the Superlight here. I did try to remove the switches and I did fail in the stream if you watched it, so rip my G Pro Wireless Super here. Using the same TTC 8mm encoder here, and they're still using the same switches as we've already pointed out. The scroll wheel is the same, it's just painted white on this version. There's no differences to the scroll wheel. You'll see the connector is also different. There's a thinner ribbon on the Superlight and a thinner connector. As we know, the ribbons and the switches on the side on the stock G Pro wireless using the smaller Omron micro switches, which are prone to fail as well. And then on the Superlight they're using the same switch here, micro Omron. This time it's glued in, it's not got the connectors like the other Exoskeleton, which I actually preferred. These glue ones make it a little bit tricky to get off, so be very careful when removing these. These are delicate ribbon cables. Again, we had some issues on the stream. I'll put a link in the description to that full stream if you want to watch it, or we'll be doing a compressed version like this and talking over it to allow you to see what we did for the weight reduction. A lot of changes here to the ribbon, cable and switch configuration here. These are not interchangeable with any of the stock ones. They certainly made a lot of changes here. It seems a lot more delicate than the original stock one, so be careful if you're doing any modifications with this.
Back in those days when we used to play.
There's definitely some differences here on the Exoskeleton. They've made some additional modifications here to the buttons by putting these little hook brackets over them. They've also changed the side configuration, and they've tried to trim out some weight here on the Exoskeleton itself. I've done a little bit on the weight reduction here, got quite a bit more out of it. Logitech probably could have gone a little bit further here, which is a bit of a shame to see. I don't know why they were so rigid about keeping some of this. It really makes a little difference inside the shell here, it just adds additional weight. So that's it here, the stock G Pro wireless fully broken down. Next to the Superlight here, interesting to see a lot of the changes here. This is the best way to see all these changes. So I hope you appreciate me taking this apart. Appreciate you all dropping in the stream. Don't forget, I'll be on Twitch going forward. I won't be streaming on YouTube anymore. I look forward to seeing you. Check out my other videos. Check out my stream for the full weight reduction if you want to see that, or keep your eye out for the one that's going to be coming soon, which is a trimmed down version. And I'll catch you all later. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.